The Croods is one of those movies that I feel like I should have seen as a kid, but I'm instead seeing now. This movie was big and new around the time I was in 3rd grade, and that was the audience this movie was definitely trying to appeal to, but even then, I just kind of wrote it off as some gross-out, unfunny, early 2010s DreamWorks movie. And I stuck by that ideology for a really long time, and it did not help that everyone I knew who actually saw the movie around that time thought the exact same thing. This was until I actually gave the movie a shot, and I have to say, it's not really what I thought it would be. To start, this movie is almost strictly a comedy. Not every scene's a comedic scene, but I want to say 80% of this movie is. And for that, I actually found this movie to be overall pretty funny. Not every joke landed, but the ones that did definitely stuck with me.
Call it a ride. Rhymes with grug.
That doesn't rhyme.
It's gonna get us places faster than shoes. Yeah! Try to keep up!
I honestly didn't care for most of the characters, but the ones I did care for I especially found funny. Grug, the overprotective, brute-minded dad, had a ton of enjoyable moments, and his interactions with the grandma were scenes I found extremely funny.
Mom, we're ready to leave. Mom? Still alive!
I never really cared for the rest of the characters. The brother and the mom just felt like they were villains with no interesting character traits, and the sister I also didn't care for. I just found her extremely unlikable. I felt like the baby was just this movie's version of the Minions, and was pretty much just used to market the movie. And Guy, yes, that's his actual name, wasn't a character I cared too much for, but he was a major point of interest in the plot, and I actually enjoyed a lot of his interactions.
Now, kick it away. Farther.
The movie's premise is just cavemen meeting a modern-day human and experimenting with modern-day human ideas, and honestly, it's an interesting concept, just not one I was on like the edge of my seat for. And that kind of goes for the entire plot of the movie. Like, the whole dynamic of everyone but the overprotective dad succumbing to the ideas and change, only for said dad to understand change is okay, never really had me immersed. The plot was pretty generic, but I wasn't expecting much anyways. I mean, I could tell they were really just going for a comedic scene compilation. And I mean, I guess it makes sense, considering this movie was heavily marketed towards kids. But even then, it's because this movie doesn't prioritize its plot, that when it tries to change the tone, everything feels slow and out of place, and sometimes hard to take seriously, though funny enough, I actually did like some of the emotional sequences at the end, especially the one with the daughter calling out for her dad, who she knew deep down was already gone. It was pretty sad seeing a daughter who neglected her father all this time have the reality of losing him and not having the chance to make things right set in. Even though as a viewer I already knew the dad was alive, seeing the emotion captured in this scene was great, especially for the low story standards this movie was setting up. Something else I really loved about this movie was its environments. They looked absolutely astonishing, even considering this movie's animation was just alright, even for its time. One scene from the ending I also loved was when Grug was utilizing his surroundings and the vast environment to escape the impending demise of the island he was on. Overall, The Croods isn't a bad movie, it's just there. It's pretty good, it's just that there's not much more I can say about this movie, other than it's kinda ripe for funny compilation content. This is one of those movies I'm probably gonna forget I watched later down the line, similar to everyone I know who's seen this movie as a kid, which is a lot. The movie was successful, but also forgettable, which is why I wasn't surprised I never heard it got a sequel, which I may or may not watch. Although this movie had a weak plot with a lot of forgettable characters, it also had a lot of jokes that could land, and some pretty memorable characters, and some pretty cool scenes. But at the end of the day, I'm not surprised I have yet to see someone openly defend this movie or even call themselves a fan.
No fans! I am a Croods fan! Take that back!
There's cat's eye, you're gonna be sure, safe and secure. It's the last rites for those pests. It's cat's eye, call the best of the best to get rid of your